Hello, my name is Kai, and I am a bit of a rambler. I like to travel, learn, and tell stories. And today I'm going to ramble on a bit. There was a giant Christmas tree before I left Cusco, and they had been building it up for a while, and I was hoping they'd finish it before I actually left the city. And they did, in front of the University of Andina. There was, how tall is that, 50 feet? It was quite tall. It might have been taller, because it was taller than the university, which was at least 3 stories, so that's 30 feet. Let's say 50 feet. It was a big tree. And it had an aluminum frame, and they decorated it with all of these manufactured pine needles and all these lights and ornaments, and they turned it on and it was flashing at night. It was really cool that they did that. And I just got lucky. I got to see it fully set up just a day or two before I finally left Cusco. And they had a big celebration when it was finally ready, so there's a live band and a bunch of people walking around, a bunch of snacks and good stuff. And I left Cusco, and I was sad, because Cusco rocks. I got new socks. I wrote that down on the list, but we can move past that. I got a new hat. So I got one hat that was good, but water would fall down the back of it when it rained, because it didn't have a full brim. It had that, neck protector in the back. And I was like, So I just got a new hat for the same price, 15 soles, and it's perfect. It's the perfect hat. It's big enough that it'll definitely protect me from the sun. It's not too big it looks crazy. And it's a thin material that can pack down, but it's a strong material so the brim stays out even when it rains. It's a good hat. I wrote down Thanksgiving. I don't know what I did on Thanksgiving. I assume I ate a bunch of food, because there's so much good food in Cusco. So I probably just got extra lunches from regular. Oh, I finally upgraded my computer to Linux Cinnamon 22.2, I think it is. It's been on Linux 20 for 5-6 years, for a very long time, and I haven't updated it because there's this one login that I need a phone number for Amazon, and I can't update the phone number because I haven't bought anything from Amazon, and then it just became this whole thing, but it's solved now, so whatever. I was able to upgrade my computer in the end, which was so nice, because I hadn't realized how much farther Ubuntu had come Linux Mint had come from 20 to 22. It's so easy to use. I'm recommending it to all my family and friends who are still on Windows, because it's just so much faster. It has nothing to do with, I'm doing the new thing, I'm using Linux. It's really just, it's silly to use Windows or an Apple iOS these days when you have access to Linux. And really simple GUI interfaces. Anyway, I'm loving Linux Mint. I'm loving the new flavor. Is that what it's called? It's great. The new version of it. For now. Unless you're listening to this episode in 5 years, in which case it's the old version. Someone was asking me about houses in the Philippines, so I looked them up, and I was like, whoa, maybe I should go to the Philippines, because I'm going to have to go there for a wedding for a friend in February anyway. So I sent them, my friend from the States who was asking about the Philippines, a bunch of links with really nice condos and apartments with full kitchens and AC and a pool and stuff for about $400 to $500 a month. And I was like, well, maybe I'll get one of these. They're a little more expensive than I would usually pay, but the first time I went to the Philippines in Cebu, I was pretty disappointed by Cebu. So I'm going to go to a different city and get a really nice house, and maybe that'll make me feel better about being there, kind of throw off the bad taste from my first visit to the Philippines. And nothing was terrible, by the way, in case you're wondering. Cebu was just a big city. There wasn't, maybe I was in the wrong neighborhood. There wasn't really anything to grab my interest, and it was so hot the entire day, so I couldn't really go out. I guess I went to a cool dance like party club. I don't know what that was. It was in a gymnasium. I don't know what that was. I went to a cool dance party there. But over the month, I was just like, man, this city is hot and there's not much going on. So I'm going to check out a different city and see how it's like. But anyway, I've been building up. I think I had 140 something users in that first one after 8 months of using and trying to build up the community, which is pretty decent for Lemmy. And I'm not posting crazy. I'm posting maybe 3 times a day. I basically wait until double the number of hours have passed. It's compared to the points, and then if the points are lower than double the amount of hours, then I'll post again. But I'm not flooding, and it's all original content or travel information. So the community has built up pretty well. So I don't mind restarting it and doing it again because I feel like more people will join faster with the new name as Just Travel on this community. I'm excited about it. Okay. But the cool thing was on that community that I had 140 people on, like 4 people messaged me within a couple hours of each other. One guy wanted that's the Philippines guy I just mentioned, wanted specific advice on houses he could get in the Philippines and if he should sell his house in the US. The answer is yes to that. God, for sure. He didn't like his house, by the way, and he was living in Florida, and he was like, I don't like living here. I'm not comfortable, and I have friends in the Philippines. Should I just go? And I was like, yes, that's a great set of life circumstances for you to start traveling the first time, start living abroad the first time. Just get over there. And he's visited the Philippines, and he likes it, so why not? And it's, like I said, they have super nice condos for $400 a month. There's a lot of good reasons to go live in the Philippines, especially if you like it like he does. Okay, so after that guy asked me about the Philippines, another guy is moving to Portugal with his family because he doesn't want his daughter to get shot, which is a pretty big problem in the U.S. if you're unaware. There's a lot of gun violence in that country, like an absurd, you wouldn't believe how much gun violence. Like every 22 hours, a U.S. veteran kills themselves. I think it's once every 11 hours there's a school shooting now. I'm being conservative. It might be down to 8 at this point. There are a lot of school shootings and just gun violence in general in the U.S., and that's making him really uncomfortable. His grandparents were from Portugal, or I think it was his grandparents. So we were talking, just a couple messages, and I talked to him about visas and how easy those are, especially if he has grandparents from the country, and especially in Portugal, and just how it works. Is it really easy to move? The answer is yes, it is very easy. They have supermarkets, they have transportation, there's better healthcare, everything's cheaper. People are generally nicer because they're not afraid of getting shot by their neighbor. And then he messaged me a few months later, right after this first guy messaged me, and they are making the move. They decided to move over to Portugal. They don't want to live in Trump's America where women don't have health care. They don't want their kid to get shot. That's the best reason. That's the one I was like, yeah, that's a good one to get out of the States for. They don't need to worry about salaries because he has enough that he's going to be perfectly comfortable living in Portugal with a family. Again, most countries in the world, even if you have a family, if you have $1,500, $2,000 a month coming in, you're set. You're totally fine. Whereas that is less than poverty wages in the United States. So there's just a lot of good reasons for him to move over at this time, and I'm really happy for him. They sound like they're happy about the move, and he sent a nice thank you note about how, I was able to just help him feel more comfortable about actually making the trip over there. Okay, and then right after him, another guy messaged me and saying that he's enjoying the community and just the travel posts, and he's trying to plant seeds in his son's head. His son's like a teenager, and so whenever his teenager son is like, I don't have any options, this country, blah, 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 he's just like, well, just so you know, you can always travel abroad and teach English, and just giving some of the advice that I offer on the community, and then he backs off because it's a teenager, and you just let those ideas percolate through their consciousness. He just wants his son to be aware that he does have other options, because he's a dad now, he's older, he feels like he's past his prime. He always wanted to go teach English abroad, but never did, and now he's older. But if he has a teenage son, I told him, you're probably in your 50s. I've worked with people in their 60s, and they were not planning on going back to the US anytime soon. And I actually worked with a 50-something-year-old. We never found out because he was worried about revealing his age. But he was definitely in his 50s, and he worked with me for 3 years in the Beijing school, I think, something like that. And we hung out a bunch. So there's no way that if you're in your 50s and you're like, well, I'm past the age for teaching, not at all. There are 70-year-old teachers in Beijing right now and abroad in other countries. It's just, there are almost 2 billion English language students, like students studying English. You have to be severely, you got to be pretty old and immobile and like difficult to understand, and then you'll have a difficult time finding a teaching position. But with 2 billion students studying English in the world, like 50s, you're fine. If you're 50 right now listening to this, or you're on the travel community and you're wondering if you're too old, not at all. I worked with people as old as you for years. They loved it, of course, because they don't have to worry about retirement anymore. They can work with just the cute, smart kids, like the best part of having a kid, like right when they're cute and compliant and before they hate you as a teenager. So there's plenty of 50-year-old teachers out there. So I wouldn't worry about, until you're, like I said, until you're 65 and you're having a very difficult time speaking or being understood, you're pretty okay. Like, yeah, I've worked with 50-year-olds. I know there are older ones in other schools that worked there for years. So if you're into podcasts, if you're listening to this, you're very likely not past your prime for teaching English. And if you think you are, talk to me. I'll be honest with you. If we talk in person and I can judge how easy you are to understand, I can tell you if you're going to have a difficult or easy time finding a job. But if you are a native English speaker, unless you're very difficult to understand, there's a job available for you teaching English overseas and online. Okay, so that was cool. That was the third guy. And then the fourth guy is the guy who moved down to El Salvador and then around Central America. Probably the youngest one of this crew. And he's roughly 30, and he's out for the first time going around Central America. And I won't say things have been flawless for him, because he, as I did, likes to drink at that age. And so, rough patch, but I'll say when we first started talking, this guy was he sounded like every other US American I know, especially of the younger generation, closer to 30. Everyone's just like, well, I'm never going to own a house. I'm never going to move up in my job. I'm never going to have enough money to live a comfortable life here. And there's literally nothing I can do. I have zero skills. And I talked to him for over a year. I would just letting him know, like, English is a skill. So regardless of anything else you want to do, you do have one skill. And you don't have to use that skill, but it's important to recognize you do have that in your back pocket. English is valued and valuable. That's probably going to become a phrase because I keep saying that and it just sounds so good. But, yeah, so he came around to that. And he, like I said, has been talking to me for a year. So he's asked questions about the last dozen countries I've been to. And I just kept telling him, yeah, India, also great. Guatemala, also great. Like every country, great. And I'm not saying that just to convince people they have to live my lifestyle. I really find so many countries so much more comfortable than my home country of the US, because there's much less gun violence. There's much less spontaneous violence in general in most countries. So when you talk to people, they aren't afraid of the people around them. Every time I'm back in the US, people are super worried about their housing. They're super worried about their healthcare. They're super worried about food security. They're very worried that someone's going to violently attack them. It's just, everywhere in the US. That's what everyone talks about. Where in other countries, they talk about, like, what to get for lunch or, like, which local market to go to. It's just, I find the general air of most countries much more comfortable to be in than in the US. And so that's what this guy sounded like before we started talking. And then I just kept telling him the reality. Like, yeah, India has supermarkets and Thailand has supermarkets. And yes, it costs $300. I'd sent him screenshots of the flight prices and links. I never want to tell somebody something that I can't back up, so when somebody asks me about flight prices, I usually check them first and then send over a link and a screenshot. Because if you live in the US, the story is you have to be rich to travel. Flight tickets are impossibly expensive, and I just kept explaining to this fourth younger guy in very simple terms and, direct proof. This is how much it costs. This is how you fill out a visa. If you want to go to a visa country, you don't need a visa for 180 countries to travel in since you're from the US. And eventually, he jumped over to El Salvador, had a wild, fun party time, and then is stopping back in the US right now before he goes to Asia because he really wants to go to Japan. But he's learned from those bumps, and when he talks now, he sounds very positive and like he's taking action rather than despair, rather than just, well, there's nothing I can do, I'm totally screwed. Now that he's traveled for, I think it was 2 months. How long? 2.5 or 3 months, I'll say. It was something like that before he's back in the States now. You learn so much. Anybody who travels, after a couple months, you learn enough that you can travel for the rest of your life, and it's all of the things I say. You'll be able to afford your life for the rest of the... Once you travel for the first time and you're actually living for these costs that I'm talking about, $500 a month for rent, utilities, Wi-Fi, and electricity. Wait, what's the other one? Rent, utilities, Wi-Fi, something else, whatever. The cost, the basic cost... Oh, groceries. Yeah, so food and housing taken care of for under $500. After you live like that for a couple months, a huge weight will fall off your shoulders because all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't need $5,000 every month to live. I can have 10% of that and live very comfortably. And if I have 20%, if I have $1,000, I live like a king in like 180 countries. So now that this guy knows how to travel practically, as in practice, he feels much more comfortable about his whole life, about being able to live in the world. And that exact conclusion that he told me is what I want to share with people. That's pretty much the whole point of this podcast and the community. I share fun information. I share fun pictures of where I'm going. The whole point is so that people ask me, which they usually do, is this real? Can I really do it? Travel can't be that easy. I'm fine with the confrontational things too, because the information is so easy to check. Flight tickets, price, visa websites, and I just send that to the person. This is publicly available information. Healthcare, yes, much cheaper, higher rated than the US. Food, much more fresh, much cheaper than the US. Rent, better housing, much cheaper than in the US. I just want people to know that if they travel, they have better options, because instead of one country, so you only have limited options, you can go to almost 200 countries and choose, let's just say, 200 times the amount of options, because you have 200 times the amount of countries to choose from. If you need healthcare, get to Thailand. They're killing it with healthcare. If you just want an easy life, Thailand's also pretty good for that. But Colombia's pretty nice. I like the weather better. You can just choose the best situation for you. It's so nice. So it was really great to hear this guy who has moved abroad sound much more comfortable and confident about his life going forward, because now that he has the skill set of traveling and the experience of a couple months, he knows that he can keep doing it. And he knows that he doesn't have to worry about all the things he was told he must worry about growing up in the United States. Housing, food security, vehicles, transportation, gun violence, all of this stuff, just those concerns pretty much vanish once you start traveling. Once this guy started traveling. So, yeah, I'm always happy to hear that. So that was very exciting for me. That was a big moment in the community for me. That was the first time I got 4 messages in the same, so close together. And that's kind of part of the reason why I decided to make the new community just called Travel, because I want those questions and I want to help people feel more comfortable in this world and know all the options available to them. And yeah, with just Travel, I'm hoping more people keep asking questions and my information about traveling helps them. And if you're like, well, how many negative comments do you get in the community? Way more. But that doesn't bother me very much, because if not me was making this Reddit community, let's say a travel community, and sharing the information I'm sharing, I would be extremely skeptical too. So I'm never down on the negative comments. I just send them the real information. The only thing is I don't allow misinformation in the Lemmy communities. So if you say that flight is impossible, then I have to remove that because there's a screenshot and link to that price. So I want to spread positive information that can help people. And I'll send it to anybody. And I like talking too. And I'm retired and I'm still young, so I have a lot of energy, young-ish, I'll say. Not as young as I or anyone would like to be, but I still have enough energy that I still have fun typing back all the comments. So that's another reason why I don't mind the negative comments. I just have all day, and whenever someone talks to me, I'm like, ooh, someone calling me names. Well, at least I have something to do now. Politely respond and provide answers. Oh, but I prefer it when you don't call me names and just ask nice questions. Okay, so those were the 4 people getting real information. It was really cool to do that. So that's why we have the new travel community. I'm excited to build it back up. Looks like more people have already joined. I think it's almost at 60 users after a couple days. So yeah, I'm excited. It's really exciting using this travel community and then getting these messages from people letting me know that they're having real results in their life. Real positive results and taking action, taking their own life under their own control. Very cool. Okay, let's get back to me. No. But we will. That is what I'm doing. Okay, the host for my Airbnb in Cusco when I left, they think in some countries where Airbnb is not very common or there's a huge local renting scene, so Airbnb just isn't as understood, they treat it like you're actually renting with a contract kind of thing, which is not what Airbnb is. In Airbnb, you put up, you pay the rent, and this person is providing, and it's an informal thing. Like, yeah, you're paying, money is exchanging hands, but you don't sign any rental agreement. The host and you are part of the same community, the Airbnb community. So you don't mess up their place. They provide a nice place accurate to their advertisement. But they don't do walkthroughs, and they don't ask you questions about whatever. But if you're in a country like Peru or like places where Airbnb just isn't more popular, or there's a huge local renting apartment scene, you'll get more questions, and they will think that it's a formal renting agreement, whereas it is not. It's very clearly just a community thing. It's like a couch surfing that you pay for. So when I was checking out, they kept asking, when can we come up and when can we check the apartment? And I kept telling them, like, because I had already told them I'll be ready to check out and leave at about 11 a.m. And at 6 a.m., I think they said, we're ready to go. And I was like, okay, I'll message you when I'm ready. And they are, okay, are you ready yet? An hour later, no, not yet. And just keep saying no. I've never had a host like barge in. They just want to, yeah, they're just anxious. I guess they're first-time Airbnb renters. And so when I was ready, I said, I'm ready, but I was at the door with my backpack. I gave them the keys and I walked out. One of them went in, the other one walked with me to the bus stop, I guess to like grab me if the person going through the Airbnb found anything bad. But I'm a super guest. I always leave it cleaner than I found it. I'm a pretty good guest, so there were no issues, and I got on my bus. Went to Lima because I was going to check out a coastal city before I flew out of Lima to Hawaii for the holidays, and then I'm going to bounce over to Philippines after a couple weeks in Hawaii to go to that wedding. I'm lucky. I have a couple friends in Hawaii that I can stay with, but I've also camped outside at several of the beaches in Hawaii, which is technically illegal, but they're very heavily wooded areas, and I'm, quite good at stealth camping at this point. And honestly, there's so many homeless people in Hawaii that as long as you're not bothering anyone, you can pretty much camp anywhere out of the way on any of these beaches. They just don't. There's so many homeless people in Hawaii. It's wild. I always stop in Hawaii when I'm going between, Asia and the Western United States. So when I'm whenever I have to cross over the Pacific, I'll stop in Hawaii for a week or something, because I have a couple beaches I love there. And at first you would be shocked at how many homeless people there are, but it's pretty good cover. If you're comfortable with camping, it's very easy to camp on a lot of these beaches so many of the beaches in Hawaii do not have people. Like, it's crazy how many of the beaches in Hawaii have maybe 5 people per mile on the beach. A kilometer, I'll say. Something like that, because the beaches, you can look down for a kilometer and there's maybe 5 people in that whole area. Sometimes there's none. If they're not on the list, if you type in Hawaii beaches, if they're not on that list, then people just don't go to them. It's pretty crazy. So you can go to the nicest beaches in Hawaii as long as you go to one of the 100 other beaches that are not on top 10 Hawaii beaches list or top 20 list. Just go to any of the other ones and nobody's ever at them. So it's even easier to camp there. Okay, but I'm going to stop there before the wedding. So I'm going to go to Lima because I've only been in Cusco and I've loved it the whole time I was in Peru. But I figured I would check out a coastal city before I flew out of Peru. And I was told many things. I was told it was very sunny in Lima compared to Cusco, which was completely untrue. Cusco was much sunnier, even though Cusco rained so much, which I really liked. When it wasn't raining, it was very nice sun. Lima was just cloudy the whole time I was there. Oh, and I was only there for 10 days, so all of these observations are me only 10 days. I was in Cusco for over 2 months. I was told the food is definitely better because it's more fresh in Lima. I found the complete opposite. I only found one diner in Lima that I liked. All the other restaurants, the quality of the ingredients was much lower than what I was used to in Cusco. And yeah, just not cooked as well as every place in Cusco. I'll talk that a bit later when I talk about Tommy's Diner. I'll just talk about it now. In Cusco, every restaurant has like 3 appetizers and 5 entrees, or roughly that. And you choose your appetizer and entree. And it's $150 US, maybe $250 US for the expensive ones. And no, that's not true. It's $4 for the expensive ones, but it's $150 US to $4 in Cusco, and $4 was more the norm in Lima. But that's not a huge problem. The problem was that the ingredients in Cusco are all, for every single restaurant I go to, I'll say an easy 4 out of 5 of the restaurants, because I usually went to a new restaurant every day in Cusco, depending on what the menu was looking like, were as fresh as ingredients can be, and the food was cooked so well and so just tasty. Whereas when I got to Lima, I tried 3 or 4 places, and none of them had very good, and they were very popular places. There were lots of people inside, but the food was mostly not worth the $4 I was paying. I would rather just buy something or make a salad or something like that. It just wasn't good. And I got very lucky, and I found this one place. I walk around cities, and then when I see a place that catches my eye, I'm like, okay, they're probably good. That's how I find places these days. It really is just like vibes. But it works pretty well. I'm not sure what the criteria are. It's like out of the way, not in a main thoroughfare. There are people, and the food looks correct, and the chef has a focus, like if they're paying attention to the food they're making. And I got really lucky, because after I went to a few not great restaurants in Lima, I was like, okay, you have to turn on your restaurant radar and just figure out where the good one is, because I don't want to live here 10 days and just eat food like this. Even the ceviche. Oh, the ceviche in Lima was terrible. Yes, I'm sure the fish is fresh in some point. Like in some, it's more fresh, like technically, maybe. But the sliced ceviche from my favorite ceviche place in Cusco, there was no second place in all of Lima. Even Tommy, which I didn't want to tell him, but the way they cut the fish, the sauce in Cusco at Piranha Loca, the Crazy Piranha, no comparison. There wasn't a distant second in Lima. There was just a bunch of restaurants not worth mentioning for their ceviche, and then Cusco has good ceviche. Sorry, Lima. I know, I'm sure you have 1,000 recommendations now, but I went to a lot of ceviche. Oh wait, I did find one place. I guess they would be considered second place, but that's only because, like, it was just, there's so much gristle and poor quality meat in all the ceviche I had in Lima, even from this relatively good place I'm talking about. Yeah. I'm not going to put a second place. Cusco wins. Okay, let's talk about the trip before I get to Tommy and his restaurant, though, because his food was great. His ceviche was not great, but his squid ceviche, his fish ceviche wasn't good. Squid ceviche was great. All of his food was great besides that. So let's talk about getting down there, because I took a bus down there because I knew my flight to Hawaii was going to take 24 hours, and then my flight from Hawaii to the Philippines was going to take like 12 hours. And I just didn't want to be on a plane before 2 other longer flights like that. So I took a bus 24 hours from Cusco to Lima. And you might be thinking, well, what's the difference between 24 hours on a bus versus 24 hours on a plane? Okay, this sentiment, you're probably from the US if you're thinking that, which is how I thought of it before I started traveling. It's so comfortable. Taking national or metropolitan buses in other countries is incredibly comfortable. Taking a bus if you're going like city to city in most countries in the world, you have a reclining seat. Your seat is going to be much, much more comfortable than any airline. It's like if you took a first class seat from an airplane, that's what the economy seats are in these city-to-city buses in most countries in the world. So the seat's already very nice. You almost always have electricity, so you can plug in your phone. You have air vents that you can use. There's a full recliner. Mine did this time, so you have a footrest that goes out and your seat reclines back. But there's plenty of room, so you don't have to worry about hitting the person behind you. Yeah, there's just a ton of space, ton of storage space for your bags, all the amenities. They do have food you can buy. They don't have complimentary meals, usually, but the food's a couple bucks. They have bathroom breaks, and that bus that I was on, and most buses I'm familiar with in other countries, have bathrooms on board, so you can just go downstairs and pee and get back to your seat. And their schedules are to the dot. They arrived exactly when they said they were going to arrive on my ticket, and they left exactly when they said they were going to leave. And they arrived 12 hours away, 24 hours on it was a 22-hour bus ride, and I timed it from the time we left, and they got there 22 hours and 13 minutes after. And there was like a big traffic jam in Lima when we got there. But that's pretty good for an estimated drive time to be 13 minutes not perfectly on schedule. They were in the city limits, but just getting to their... Yeah, they were in the city limits ahead of time, but getting to their bus station took an extra 30 minutes after we got there. But it's just such a comfortable travel experience, whereas a flight probably would have only taken me 3 hours, something like that, 4 hours. But I would have had to get to the airport, go through security, wait for the plane because I'm there super early. So the whole rigmarole probably would have taken 8 hours or something, and I'd rather just walk to a bus stop, chill out, not think about it, and then I'm in Lima, on an air-conditioned bus. It's just so much, in a first-class seat, it's just so much more comfortable. Like I said, even if you get economy, which I got, it's a first-class seat. So I think I paid 80 soles, which is about $25 $25 roughly for a $23, something like that. $23 for a 22-hour bus ride. Because I remember it was still like $1 per hour of driving, which is a pretty great price, especially when you're in complete comfort, and it's a sleeper bus, so you can recline all the way. And there was electricity. Most of the buses have Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi was broken on this bus, but we had Wi-Fi, I was surprised, pretty much throughout the entire ride, even though we were in the mountains. So, like, all of our data still worked. Yeah, it was good. It was a good ride. I did not regret doing it when I got all the way there. Okay, the only problem was that the dude next to me smelled like chorizos. And that's the only thing you gotta watch out for. Maybe you'll just get unlucky and you'll sit next to chorizo guy like I did. But it wasn't crazy, and there's a lot of ventilation in the bus, and there were windows, and I opened that, so it wasn't a huge problem. And everything else is so comfortable. And the schedule is correct. In some countries, like in Morocco, I remember the bus to Casablanca was about 20 hours, and you're just like, when are we taking off? Soon. And that could be 2 hours, 4 hours. It could be a long time before they actually take off. I would wait around sometimes in Morocco, but these guys, Peru, on point. Their schedule was exactly correct, just as stated on their sign, and like they told me. It was very impressive, and it was a nice ride. I would do it again. If I go... In Central South America, every country I was in had nice buses like this. So if I'm down there, I'm certainly going to keep taking these intercity buses because great experience. And the longer I go, the more comfortable these buses get. 10 years ago when I started taking them, they were pretty comfortable, but not all of them had electricity inside. That was pretty rare. But now they, like, everywhere. Thailand, everywhere in Asia, Southeast Asia, and Central South America all have electricity, all have the modern amenities on board the bus. So if you're moving around within the country, I do recommend taking the bus because most of the time it's a very comfortable ride. It's pretty much always a comfortable ride. And it's, cheaper, and it's comfortable. It's much more comfortable than taking a plane for me. Try it out. Maybe you'll find the same thing. Try it out for 5 hours at a time. See how a 5-hour ride is. If you don't like it, you're not going to like the 20-hour one. But if you like it, which most people do, then, yeah, you can take as long a bus as you want and just recline and sleep through it or eat snacks or drink beer or whatever you want. Okay, so I had 3 Guatemalan coins left in my bag when I packed up, I realized. So I decided to drop them off in like good luck or thank you to Cusco on my way walking to the bus that I took to Lima. And I dropped one in a park and a second park. And then the third one I dropped under my seat in the bus, and I just left it on the floor of the bus. Just for someone to pick up, or good luck for the bus, whatever. I'm just getting rid of the coins. I'm not superstitious, but yeah, why not think of it as a good luck token? And I put it under my seat, wondering like when someone would notice and eventually try to take it. And it happened that evening when most people were asleep. The girl across the aisle from me noticed it, and I was like, oh, got one. And she reached her foot over under my seat because she thought I was asleep. And no, I was reading a book, so she must have thought I wasn't paying attention. And she started carefully dragging the Guatemalan coin over to her side of the aisle, like real casually, real carefully, but she did have to go like almost under my seat to get it. So it was noticeable, but I'm watching it all out of my peripheral vision and tapping on my phone, writing down her taking the coin while she's doing it, but it looks like I'm just playing on my phone. And she got it back to her aisle, and like I could see her, like she wanted to bend down and pick it up, but she didn't want to be obvious about it, because then people would see her grabbing this coin and maybe she knows it isn't hers. And after a couple false starts, she like reached all the way down and then shot back up real quick, like looking around again. And then the second time she leaned down and picked it up like real casually. And I saw her flipping it around in her hands, and she clearly didn't know what it was. But it looks really cool because the Guatemalan dollar coins, what are they called in Guatemala? Can't remember now. Quetzal? Quetzal. The Guatemalan quetzals are gold in the middle with a silver rim of like a 1/4 inch, so it looks really cool. And she slipped that into her coin purse and then like looked around again and it was like nothing, just casual, just a dude with a coin, just a lady with a coin purse. And yeah, I was happy she took it. Has a cool coin now. That's good luck. In some way, probably. Seems like good luck. Oh, and when I was walking to the bus, there was a bird on one of the streets, one of the longer streets, and as I walked, every step I put down, the bird was like, whack, 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 just squawking as I walked down the street. So I was just walking to the beat of this bird saying goodbye to me. Thanks, Cusco bird. The ticket, like I said, super easy to buy, had the schedule on it, even with my crappy Spanish, I understood, and the bus arrived when it should and took off when it should. So ticket was no problem. It was cheap, $1 per hour of travel. It was great. I love international bus stations. They showed the beginning of Deadpool Wolverine. They showed like the first half hour, and there were like built-in TV screens in the bus. And definitely I love it when they do Backstreet's Back in a movie, which happens. Well, I mean, it was in This Is the End, I believe. And then it was in this one, and it was really funny, again. So I got to watch a dumb, funny movie sequence for a little while before that went away. I guess they just wanted us to show us the beginning of it and be like, this is pretty funny. Maybe it was bedtime or something. I don't know why. They didn't show the whole movie. Anyway, that was fun. It was raining when I arrived in Lima, 22 hours later. And all the flagstones in Lima are very sheer. In Cusco, they're like, well, it's going to rain, so make sure we have gravel, or some of them are sheer, but it's pretty rare. They mostly have easy surface flagstones to walk on their sidewalks, regardless of the weather. Whereas in Lima, they clearly don't expect much rain. Or that must be it, because that happens in countries that generally don't have a lot of precipitation. Their flagstones are very large and very sheer. So when it does rain, which is rare, you can fall very easily. So when I got off the bus, tons of people were either walking super slowly or straight up slipping. I saw 2 people slip and almost fall down walking past them. And I was too, because my shoes are old and the grip is crappy. So we were all just falling around for the 30 minutes after I got off the bus, the whole city, until the flagstones dried enough. But it was drizzling for a while. So my room wasn't ready. It was the morning. I did get there really early. I think it was 6 a.m. that I got there. And my room wouldn't be ready till later, but it turns out it was ready at like 8:30 a.m. or 9 a.m., something really early. But I just walked around to the different parks of the city for a few hours and checked out, got a feel for the city. And it was kind of like what I was expecting. That's why I only gave myself 10 days, because most big cities feel like most other big cities. Lima felt like San Francisco or, I don't know, Detroit? I haven't been to Detroit, so I can't say. I guess Portland or Seattle or, yeah. And any other big city. Big cities mostly feel like big cities, unless they have something special. Like New York is special. It has a special culture to it. There's a lot more live theater shows going on. There's a lot more dedicated art. There are a few cities that are different, but most large cities just feel like large. They just feel like hot concrete grids, and that's what Lima felt like. And that's why I usually don't stay in larger cities. But coastal city, I'm gonna fly out of there anyway. Why not? And then, like I mentioned, I tried the restaurants, and I was like, oh, this is why not. Police canine dog harnesses are really popular in Peru, which I was confused by, because there was a girl with a German Shepherd with a canine police harness, but she was just dressed like any other girl. She was like, or woman. She was young. She was like 20s, whatever. And she had this dog that looked like a police dog to me, but I realized a little while later, like, oh, this is just a popular harness for your dog. Like, everybody has a canine dog harness that looks like a U.S. police canine dog harness, but none of them are cops. It's just a popular type of dog harness in Lima, I guess, because I never saw one in Cusco, but then I never saw any leash in Cusco the whole time I was there. They don't do leashes there. Lima street art. The stuff I saw was pretty cool. Yeah, I found some cool Lima street art. Okay, then interesting thing happened. I got chicharron in Lima, which I had not realized in Peru is not dried, fried, roasted pork skin. It's breaded and fried fish or seafood. So that's completely different from any other chicharron I ever heard of. And I posted that in the community, and a couple people said that different countries have different chicharrones, and that's not... Some do, like Peru. Most countries are the dried fried pork skin. That's the common chicharron across the world. But in some countries like Peru, I don't have to say it like that. In Peru, they do have chicharron that is different, that is breaded, fried seafood and fish, which is totally different than how chicharron is usually made. So it's not like every country has a different chicharron, but there are much more variations of chicharron internationally than I knew. So that was cool to find out. I was pretty blown away by that. Oh, tiradito, I should mention. That I tried for the first time in Lima, and it was pretty good. The first restaurant I went to, it wasn't great. The second one, it was very good at. Iro Burger had great tiradito, which is Peruvian sashimi, basically. And in the second place, they wrapped it around a bundle of sliced cucumbers and herbs, and it was perfect. It was so good. That was delicious. So there, for all the crap I talked about Lima food, there's definitely Tomi, who has great food, and there's definitely Iro Burger, which had great food, except the beef hamburger. But the tiradito and the sushi was pretty good. The tiradito was good anyway. I'm gonna go sign off because I've been talking for a while, and I will talk to you soon. Talk to you on the next one. If you want to talk to me, go to bitofarambler@gmail.com or bitofarambler on Blue Sky and Lemmy. The new community, crazypeople.online/c/travel. And we can talk about traveling. I'll be talking there anyway, but I will answer you and interact with you if you talk to me, because I have all the time in the world. Oh, except I'm in Hawaii now, and I thought I would try a new service provider, Boost Mobile, and it's awful. Don't get Boost. It takes 6 days for them to mail a SIM card to you. And that's crazy. That's the longest of any country I've ever been in, to wait for a SIM card. Unless you want to pay $60 in store, but I had already ordered the SIM card, and I was like, well, it's in Hawaii. It arrived in Hawaii after, I think, 2 days or 3 days, and then they just held on to it for 3 more days, like Amazon does with stuff. So, yeah, I not recommending Boost Mobile since it's taking so long to get this. And they didn't mention how long the shipping took. I should have just stuck with Visible. Every time I'm in the States, I just get Visible. It works perfectly. Visible shipped a SIM card from New York to Honolulu in 1 day last time I got Visible while I was in Hawaii. The Boost is coming from Indiana, and it's taken 6 days, and I don't even have it yet. I'm hoping it arrives today. If it doesn't, I don't know, I have to cancel this order and just get something, because it's pretty inconvenient for someone who manages an online travel community and podcasts to not be able to connect to the internet at all. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your day. I'm going to have a good day anyway. I already went to the beach yesterday. It was awesome. I'm probably going again today. Talk to you soon.